Hello everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Or if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Today's video we're going to make what I'm calling the Nani Sun Hat. Now the word Nani is Hawaiian for beauty, beautiful, or pretty. So I thought this hat was perfect for that name because it's a beautiful hat to wear on a beautiful day on a beautiful Hawaiian or tropical, or maybe just in your backyard, vacation. It has an open and lacy top to it. And then it has the wide brim so you can keep the sun out of your eyes without getting too hot. This hat will fit about a 22 to 24 inch head. And we're stitching it up with triple stitches and a J hook so that it's big and comfortable. And one of the neat things about having a sun hat like this is you can roll this baby up and stuff it in your purse or suitcase, and you're ready to go anytime you need to keep the sun out of your eyes and still look adorable in your summer outfits. Now you can find this crochet pattern on my blog, and as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make your Nani Sun Hat, you're going to need about 3 ounces of your main color. I used Red Heart Speckles for the white portion on this one. And then you need about 1 ounce for your flower, your band, and your trim. And I used a blue speckle on this one. Now, I'm going to be using this beige for the main portion of my hat. And I have some leftover Red Heart Flamingo in these beautiful bright colors that I'm going to use for the flower and the trim and the band. Now you can use any medium weight number 4 yarn. I really liked the Red Heart Super Saver for this one because it's a little bit sturdier than some of the softer yarns, but cotton works great also. So that's 3 ounces of your main color and about 1 ounce of your contrasting color. Now you're going to use a J hook, which is a 6.00 millimeter crochet hook for the hat. I have an H hook, which is a 5 millimeter crochet hook, and we're going to just use this one for the flower only. Okay, everything else is stitched in our 6 millimeter hook, flower in the 5 millimeter hook. And then you need a needle for weaving in ends and attaching your flower. And then of course you need a pair of scissors. We're going to start at the top or crown of our hat and work our way down. So I've got my beige because that's my main color of my hat. I want it to kind of look like a raffia hat or, straw hat. So I chose to use my beige color. So we're going to begin with our slip knot. And we're going to chain 5 chains. We're going to join this chain 5 into a circle. So we'll put our tail of yarn over our hook and pull it through that last loop, snug that down, and then tie that stay knot. If you prefer to use the magic circle here, you certainly can. We're going to put our hook in, pull up a loop, and chain 4. Our chain 4 counts as our first triple. We're going to stitch 11 more triple crochet stitches. So we'll put 2 wraps over our yarn. We'll go in, pull up a loop. You'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over, go through the first 2. Yarn over, go through the second 2. Yarn over and go through the last 2. So our chain 4 counted as our first, and we stitched 1, and we need to stitch 10 more triple stitches in this chain 5 loop. You'll also notice that I'm stitching over my tail of yarn. That way I can weave that in and close up this hole much easier. 2 wraps on your hook, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, and go through the third 2. All right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7. 8. And I'll continue stitching triples till I have 12 triples in this chain 5 loop. I have 12 triples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to join to the top of that chain 4 with a slip stitch, and I'm going to chain 6. Now, before I do row 2, I'm going to close up the back of my circle just by gently pulling on that tail of yarn. And then I'm going to go ahead and weave this in. That way I don't have to worry about it later. You can do this later if you want to. And I'm just going to stitch back and forth, making sure I'm weaving it in and that hole stays closed. There we go. All right, now for row 1, we have 12 triple crochet stitches around. We joined to our chain 4, and then we chained 6. We chained 6 because it counts as a triple crochet chain 2. Now we're going to stitch a triple in the next stitch. There we go. And chain 2. And this is our repeat for row 2. Triple crochet in the next stitch and chain 2. Triple crochet in the next stitch and chain 2. Triple crochet in the next stitch and chain 2. And we'll repeat this in each of those stitches around. And join back to the 4th chain of that chain 6. I have repeated this all the way around. Triple stitch, chain 2, all the way around. Here's my last chain 2. I'm going to join to the 4th chain with a slip stitch. And now we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 12 sets of triple stitch, chain 2, all the way around for row 2. All right, let's do row 3. Our chain 4 counts as our first triple. We're going to stitch a triple in that same stitch as our chain 4. Now we're going to stitch 2 triples in the chain 2 space. 1 and 2. And this is our repeat working around for row 3. 2 triple stitches in the triple stitch. So 1, 2. Now we're going to stitch 2 triples in the chain 2 space. 1 and 2. 2 triples in that next triple stitch. And 2 triples in the chain 2 space. 1 and 2. And this is going to give us a solid row of triple stitches. And so the repeat for row 3 is 2 triple stitches in the next triple stitch. And 2 triples in the chain 2 space. And we'll repeat this working all the way around the top of our hat here for row 3 all the way around, and then we'll join back to our chain 4. I have completed row 3, stitching 2 triple crochets in the triple and 2 triple crochets in the chain 2 space all the way around. That's going to get you 48 triple stitches. We're going to join to the chain 4 with our slip stitch and chain 6. All right, so now we're going to start working down the sides or the body of our hat. So our chain 6 counts as a triple chain 2. We're going to skip 2 stitches and stitch our triple shell stitch. And that shell stitch is 2 triples in the same stitch, chain 2, and 2 triples in that same stitch. We're going to chain 2, skip the next 2 stitches, and 1 triple in the next. Chain 2, skip 2, and then stitch our triple shell in the next. And again, that's 2 triple stitches, chain 2, and 2 triple stitches in the same stitch. Chain 2, skip 2, and 1 triple in the next. And this is our repeat for row 4. Chain 2, skip 2, shell stitch in the next, chain 2, and 2 triples in that same stitch, chain 2, skip the next 2, and 1 triple in the next. Go ahead and chain 2. And when you stitch this, you'll notice that your hat's going to start forming the sides. It's going to come in just a little bit with each row. So we're going to repeat triple stitch, skip 2, triple shell stitch, chain 2, skip 2, forgot to say chain 2 over there, and repeat all the way around. I have completed row 4, stitching our shell stitch, chain 2, triple stitch, chain 2, and repeat. And you're going to have 8 sets of your single, triple, chain 2, shell stitch, chain 2. You'll have 8 sets. All right, now we're going to join. Here's my last shell stitch, chain 2, and we're going to join to the 4th chain of that chain 6 with a slip stitch, and again chain 6. And this counts as a triple chain 2. Now we're going to move to the chain 2 space of our first shell stitch and stitch our triple shell stitch. Oops, there we go. All right, let's try that one again. There we go. Chain 2 and 2 more triples. Chain 2, then we'll move over to our single triple and stitch 1 triple. Whoops. 2 wraps. There we go. And chain 2. And this is our repeat for row 5. We're going to stitch a triple shell stitch in the chain 2 space of the shell stitches. chain 2, 1 triple in the single triple, and chain 2. And we'll repeat this all the way around our hat. There's my triple shell, chain 2, and 1 triple in the single triple, and chain 2. And we'll repeat this, working all the way around and join back like we did here to the 4th chain. I repeated row 5 with my shell stitches in the chain 2 spaces of the shell stitches, and then my triple in the triple with chain 2s in between. And again, you're going to have 8 sets of those because we didn't add or subtract any stitches. I joined to my chain 4 of the chain 6 and then chain 6. And so what we're going to do for the next 2 rows is just repeat row 5. So we're going to repeat row 5 for 2 more rows. I have repeated row 5 for 2 more rows, row 6 and row 7. So we have 4 rows of our shell stitches and triple stitches with chain 2s in between. Now we joined to the 4th chain of our chain 6. Whoops, there we go. And on this row, we're only going to chain 3. We're going to stitch a row of double crochets around. And so our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So we're going to double crochet in the first chain 2 space. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. Then we're going to stitch a double crochet in each of the triples of our shell. 1, 2. We're not going to stitch in the chain 1. We're just going to skip over it. So we stitched 1 double crochet in those 4 triples of our shell. And so the repeat for row 8 is 1 double crochet in the chain 2 space, 1 double crochet in the triple stitch, 1 double crochet in the chain 2 space, and then 1 double crochet in each of the triple stitches of our shell stitches. There we go. And we'll repeat this working all the way around, and that'll give us a nice even row of double crochets around our hat. I completed that row of double crochets. I joined to my chain 3, but I'm not going to chain 3 yet because I'm going to switch to my color that I'm going to use for the band of my hat. All right, so I'm going to bring in my bright color. I think it's a great contrast for this beige. And then I'm going to do my chain 3. That tail out of the way. We want to always chain 3 after the color change, or I'll have one stitch that's the wrong color. We would have a beige stitch here instead of that bright color. All right, and so what we're going to do for row 9 is we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those double crochets, working all the way around our hat. And this is going to be the colorful or contrast band. So I'm working 1 double crochet in each of those double crochets around. I completed row 9 just stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets around. And also I didn't cut my main color because we're going to do another row of this contrast color, and then we're going to bring back in our main color. So I didn't cut that off. I'm going to trowel that up on the inside of my hat. All right, so I've joined to my chain 3, and I'm going to chain 3. And then I'm just going to repeat what I did on row 9. I'm just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of those double crochets all the way around my hat. And this is going to make a nice looking contrast band. And like I said, I'm really loving the contrast of this bright coral color with my beige of my main color of my hat. So 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets, working all the way around. So I completed that second row of my coral color. I'm going to go ahead and cut off my coral. And now I'm going to bring my beige color back down because we're going to start stitching with it, and we want it to be our first color or our first stitch in the right color. Now we're going to chain 4. And the chain 4 is on the same row as our chain 3 here, and it counts as 1 triple. And we're going to go back to stitching triple stitches. In the next stitch, we're going to stitch 2 triples. 1, 2. Now in the next stitch, we're going to stitch 1 triple. And so our repeat for this row is 2 triples in the next stitch, 1, 2, and then 1 triple in the next. And I call that doing 1 and 2. 1 triple, then 2 in the next. It's not a technical term. It just helps me remember what I'm supposed to be doing. All right, so we're going to repeat 1 triple in the next and 2 triples in the next, all the way around our hat. And you're going to see that it's going to start to flare out to form that hat brim. One and two. Repeat all the way around and join back to our chain 4. I completed row 11, stitching 1 and then 2 triples in the next, and repeat all the way around. I joined to my chain 4, and I'm going to chain 4. Our chain 4 counts as our first triple. We're going to stitch 1 triple in the next stitch, and then we're going to stitch 2 triples in the next. 1 and 2. And so our repeat for this row is 2 and 2. 1 triple in the next 2, and then 2 in the next. So there's 1, 2, and then 2 triples in the next stitch. And that's our repeat for this row. Again, 1 triple in the next 2, and 2 triples in the next. All right, so we joined to our chain 4, and we're going to cut our yarn because we're finished with our main color. Now we just need to add that single crochet trim to the edge. All right, so we'll bring back in our contrasting color, chain 1, and what we're going to do is just stitch 1 single crochet, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both loops, and we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of those triple stitches all the way around the edge of our hat. And that's just going to help our hat hold its shape. That ruffle, or not ruffle, but brim, we want it to stand out a little bit. And so by stitching this row of single crochets around the edge, it's going to help it hold its shape. And I also like another pop of color around the edge. So 1 single crochet in each of our triples all the way around, then we'll join back to our first single crochet. I stitched 1 single crochet in each of the triples around. I'm going to join to my first single crochet with a slip stitch, cut my yarn, and then I'll pull that loop to the back so it looks nice and neat, and tie off back there. Now I do have some weaving in, some tidying up to do with my ends, and I've got some up here also. But this is our hat. It's super cute. Even just by itself, it is super cute. But we are going to make a flower just to add a little extra fun to our hat. For the flower, we're switching to our 5mm crochet hook. We're not using the J hook on this. So we're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 5. We're going to take the tail of our yarn, put it on our hook, pull it through that loop, and snug that down, and then tie that stay knot. Well, goodness gracious, there we go. All right, now if you prefer, again, to use the magic circle on this, you certainly can. All right, so we're going to put our hook in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. And now we're going to stitch 11 double crochets in this chain 5 loop. So yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. So my chain 3 counts as 1, and I stitched another. So I need to stitch 10 more. So I have a total of 12 double crochets. There we go. Alrighty, I got so used to using that bigger hook, I'm struggling a little with this smaller one. A little bit clumsy, I guess. Alright, let's see how many double crochets I've made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's a string there. Let's get that on there. And 12. All right, let's count again. Make sure I've got the right amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, we're going to join to that chain 3 with a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So there's the center of our flower. Let's make the petals. We've chained 3. We're going to double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3. We're going to chain 2. And now we're going to slip stitch in the top of that double crochet, and that's going to form a little picot stitch. And now we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to slip stitch in the same stitch as our double crochet, and that forms our first petal. All right. Now we're going to go to the next stitch and slip stitch, chain 3, double crochet in that same stitch, chain 2, slip stitch in the top of that double crochet to form that little bump or picot stitch like we did over here. Now we're going to double crochet in the next stitch, and chain 3. We'll slip stitch in the same stitch as our double crochet, and now we have 2 petals, and then we'll repeat this. Slip stitch in the next, chain 3, double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, chain 2, slip stitch in the top of that double crochet, then double crochet in the next stitch, chain 3, slip stitch in the same stitch as the double crochet. Now we have 3 petals, and then we'll slip stitch in the next stitch, chain 3, double crochet in that same stitch, chain 2, slip stitch in the top of that double crochet. Now we'll double crochet in the next stitch and chain 3 and then slip stitch in the next stitch and repeat. Chain 3 and slip stitch. We have 1 more petal to make. Slip stitch, chain 3, double crochet in the same stitch, chain 2, slip stitch in the top of our double crochet, and now we'll double crochet in our last stitch. Whoops, there we go. Chain 3 and slip stitch in that last stitch. There we go. And now we're done. We're going to tie off with a long piece of yarn so that we can sew that onto our hat. All right, so there is our flower. Isn't that pretty? You can see it variegated to a different color there too. I really like that. All right, let's put it on our hat. I've threaded that tail of yarn onto my needle, and now I just need to place it on my hat. I'm going to put it right there, and I like how all the different colors work together. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to stitch it around this circle. We're not going to stitch the petals down. All right, so we're going to go under here, make sure we go into a stitch, and then just stitch around, stitching around the edge of our row 1 before we get to the petals. Hooked on a petal there. And I just go around stitching in and out through the stitches, going right around. I'm going to go back a little on that one. And then I just keep going until I run out of my thread. Sorry about the scratchy throat today. There we go. I just keep going till I got that same petal again. Anyway, I keep going till I run out of yarn. Making sure my flower is going to be secure onto my hat. And then I just go to the inside and weave that in. Nice and secure into the back of that flower. As I do not want to lose my flower when I'm at the beach. Or my hat for that matter. It's just too pretty. Alright, I think that's sewn on securely. We can clip that. And so now I have two Nani beach hats, or beautiful beach hats, that I can take with me anywhere I want to go. To the beach, to the pool, on a walk to the park. I can roll it up and stick it in whatever bag I'm taking and not have to carry a great big floppy hat. Although I do love those great big floppy hats.